clear conscience and slept well. I am glad I did. Praise God. This video I'm going to, as soon as I wake up, again explain why I'm a holy royal compared to them who are the majority, that is an unholy royal and a false purity. The main reason for that being is that they have said, who are in the authority currently, that anybody who is poor claiming state benefit is not allowed to have anything decent. Anybody who has been tried and tested and have a matter of injustice through courts is not allowed to reclaim their position in society. They have to remain like that forever as a type of a political prisoner. And these authorities that are corrupt have made this rule to totally destroy the poor and the true Christians and the true ambassadors of Jesus Christ. They've made that because they hate God. They hate God's people. Haven't brushed my hair, have not yet washed my face. I don't have crusty eyes. Actually, there's nothing crusty on my eyes. So this is what I look like when I've just woken up. And here I'm not going to be doing any shouting. I'm not going to raise my voice. However, I will make a list of my nevers. So it's a list of my nevers, what I've never done that is evil, that is twisted, warped, and nasty. And neither would I want to do it. So I'm going to be doing this list to say there's a difference between those who are behaving as a type of a parasite, as a type of a weed, that is going to continually attack the crop, as the example, philosophical example of what I mean. So it's so deranged what they have done, the false purity and the false royals and the false self-righteous in society, what they have done to diminish true purity, those who have suffered for their righteous, and what they have done to attack us is to accuse all poor people claiming state benefits of doing self-harm or having some type of an addiction for using the internet, which is a falsehood. I should feel a sense of safety using the internet, a sense of appreciation using the internet, gratitude, gratefulness, of not offending anybody, of not being accused by anybody, and using the social media for what it's supposed to be, a social media, not a domestic terrorist that is going to put more infinite number, more than 50 accusers, people that will add insult to injury, know people that would continually look to smear me and make trouble, smear campaigns, and that shouldn't be happening. It should be illegal. And yet those in the working class and those who are in the elites, who are dabbling and dipping themselves in to impurity, to evil, have implemented this to use the social media to attack me, to disturb my decency, and to break the law, God's law. I'm referring to God's law and the Ten Commandments. They're using the social media for me to experience the devil and the bad angels and the bad people in control, which is wicked and wrong. It should be God's people that are in control of the social media. It should be God that is in control of social media. It should be the Ten Commandments that is in control of the media. But it isn't. So they're saying, I'm stupid in my poverty because using the internet is the same as being suicidal. That's what they've done to the poor. And that's what I'm exposing in this video. Looking at class war, status war, injustice war. I'm on an execution list. So I'm not a political activist, but I am making awareness of the principle of using the internet to resolve tension, to say I have to make a compromise, I'm not allowed to raise standards, and deliberately ambiguous. So it's not democracy. It's a bad doctrine. It's a bad teaching, and they're also boasting in the devil how many freedoms they've taken away from me, how much they have stolen from me and gotten away from it without them being punished or being affected. And so they've made this type of an infectious, worse than COVID-19 disease, airborne disease, where there's no cure, or the cure is worse than the curse or condemnation, to suffer my integrity. That should not be happening on social media. So the list of my never. I've never masturbated very loudly so people can hear me. I've never gone out to have sex with anybody and sold my sex tapes. I have never gone to anybody as a mother and said, I don't want to allow my children to play with your children. That is a family in the community. I've never done that. I have never done a death threat on anybody. I have never used a perfume to manipulate and to stand out in the crowd. If I was to use perfume, it would be a very subtle little touch. I would not use the parallel universe of showing off that I'm rich with jewelry or clothing to say my beauty is in my jewelry or my beauty is in my clothing. No, I have said the beauty is from the within. I have never envied or belittled or begrudged the poor people or the people that are suffering injustice in God's way, who have been persecuted with God as their witness. I have never gone up to them and said evil things such as I hate the fact that you're eating your food. I hate the fact that you're recovering and that God has blessed you. I hate the fact that you have stripped your clothes off to get ready to go to sleep or to have to wash yourself. As a disabled person, why are you taking your clothes off? Why did you give birth? So they would come to argue with God on the basic things by invading my privacy. There's no worse horror than that. To say a total stranger that would invade my privacy and ask me these questions. I would never do that to anybody. I may do it to evil people, but I wouldn't want to do it to anybody that is a Christian and that is God-fearing and that has a relationship with God. I wouldn't want to abuse my position of power to anybody that is God's people and go and invade them, remove their curtain, go through their door, go through their window to stare at their naked body or to stare at them eating their bread and cursing their bread and begrudging them anything that's good, true, right, and loving. I'm not an envious person. I'm not a vindictive person. Whereas the majority of them are. So they're all on the side of the devil, the majority. It is the minority that is on the side of God. So I have never threatened anybody's life to say you're like a cat and I'm going to give you, the cat has 9 lives. I have never done that, which I'm laughing about it, but maybe I should do all these things. I have never gone and stolen anybody's mobile phone, destroyed the mobile security on it, steal somebody's mobile phone, whereas all my neighbours have apparently. It's probably them that are looking to use signals and use illegal things as criminals to destroy my mobile phone, first of all, destroy my security on it, as a type of a space exhibition or voyage, that they're playing this game for the narcissist. I have a smile on my face to say it's so childish. Will they ever have a mind of their own? Will they ever grow up? So, a list of the things I have not done. I have not taken care of anybody else's children. I have not dedicated myself for being a fearmonger or a warmonger. I have never forced anybody as a type of a tyrant and bully to put up with something that is evil and endure something that is evil for more than one can handle, as a bully, as a tyrant, as an abuser. I have never done that. In fact, I am a very considerate person. I have never thrown a drink or sand or soot or whatever in somebody's face. I have never misguided anybody. I have always tried the opposite of that. Anything I have received freely from day to day, such as state benefits, council tax benefits, housing benefit, my guardian, my security, or any legal thing that I have had. It was never free, but if I had a freebie, I would always give thanks and count my blessings to God and to the great people that have offered me these freebies. I have shown gratitude, kindness, generosity to them too. In short, I have not hacked anybody, stolen anybody's mobile phone, location, address, wanted to cause trouble, pointed a weapon or a gun in somebody's face. So by doing this video, I'm doing self-defense. By doing this video, I'm saying I'm doing the opposite of self-harm. So none of this that has been created, a crisis created, that I have done. I have been welcoming in type of social setting. Very rarely did I allow anybody to come in my home, even if I've known that person for 10 to 20 years in my life. I would not welcome them in my home. It would usually be in the community, unless they were going to be a practical support to me. And they were a senior, older person than me, such as a 90-year-old that I have invited in my home, and I offered them food and drink that was looby. And I didn't pose any danger to her. I made her comfortable, cared for her. It was her Indian friend, who happens to be Indian, it could be any other nationality that is a witch, that used capitalism and used evil gossip of my minor personality disorder, mental health label, to say that I am majorly dangerous in a major way, when I had the right to be angry because I knew that she was friends with my ex-mother-in-law. And so I said I had to go my separate ways. I can't stay. So this is how my friends have been divided. My family has been divided. How my first time account had been stolen, which is Rainforest Thunder. RAINFORESTS, plural, thunder. .5@gmail.com. So that has been overlooked by the far left extremists and by the far right extremists. And I still have it on my phone, but they've locked me out of my own account and they've meddled with it one way or the other. So I have to pay money to unlock it, and I'm apparently already in my account. But it is them who have locked me out and blocked any evidence. This is what they do in far-right extremism. They actually rewrite history, delete your evidence in a poor class status. So why I would be a holy queen and they would be the unholy queen. So looking at the shapes, I am not a natural square. So I have been abused and used to be a square shape. But my natural shape is an oval and not really a pear shape. But it's certainly not a square shape. So I'm bigger and I could be badder, but I'm not. It is a result of being terrorized and tortured that I am the shape that I am, which is not my doing. So I've been overpowered, outnumbered, and overpopulated by those who are oversexed, overgreedy, and overdone it to attack me. So everything that they have done is opposite from what I have done. So in this video, it's only the behavior and the action of how I am opposite from them. So it's a list of my offense to say I am not them, that are troublemakers. As a matter of fact, in the course of my injustice since year 2014, I have been wearing earplugs, so I didn't have to hear my neighborhood insult me. And this is how I remained sane and not antisocial. I remained sane, not insane. Going under somebody's window and calling them a monster, they called me a monster. They called me some type of a Jewish rabbi for having a Hanukkah on my windowsill. They've called me a stupid Jesus fan. They've actually glorified Satan and made me feel uncomfortable for my healthcare professionals visiting me. Or any professional visiting me, it was the same as a prison guard or a politician. I've not actually had true friends and family that could visit me and that I could enjoy their company without the enemy making my blessing into a curse. My clinical utilities, my pots and pans they've criticized. They've invaded my privacy inside my home, which has had an adverse effect on my mental and physical well-being. To say I have a prison guard who is an evil dog, bitch and bastard scum of society, looking at me inside my home and hiding secret cameras in there. And that is different. I would never do that to anybody. And they're saying I have no evidence to prove it. And so it's bewildering, it's bewitching. How can I claim for compensation? How can I go to somebody who is a legal body to say that they're approaching me wrongly, they're abusing me, they don't want to understand me, they don't want me to use medical things to get better, that they want to burn me alive, they want to bury me alive. These antisocial traits, and I cannot call it a character. I can only call it an attack. That is worse than coronavirus disease. So I'll try my best to greatly simplify the list of my offences, both behaviour, attitude, and so that there is a knowing and there's a knowledge on my social media how I am different and how I'm a better person compared to somebody that is antisocial, that is mentally insane, that actually is harming me and accusing me of doing self-harm at the same time. No, I'm not doing self-harm. I've never done self-harm. So in their attempts, in the context of domestic abuse, which the system has mimicked, or in the abuser's context, to accuse me of being the same as them, that I too am the abuser because I have been abused, is a lie. Because I haven't abused anybody. If I did abuse anyone, it would have been a fly, a maggot, an insect, but a four-legged animal, I haven't abused unless I was going to eat it. Have I ever killed a chicken? I have killed a chicken. Have I ever dissected a sheep's intestines? I have done that to and pigs. When I was growing up, I was from age 5, 6, and also I was age 8 and 9. So I do know what it is like to kill an animal in order to eat it at a farm, as a shepherdess that I was. But to be accused of something I have never done and said, to be forced to wear something red and demonize me as a devil, is totally unfair. To be wearing red to say I'm the one who has tempted somebody, I'm the one who has removed the choice from somebody's life, I am the one who has removed education from somebody's life, I'm the one who has been at the front lines of battle, and I called myself a god and goddess. I am not. So I will be if I choose between red and blue, I would always choose blue or green instead of red, because it makes me believe that all bulls in nature will target red because it's the devil. So if I'm going to choose red, to wear the clothing red or associate myself to anything that's red, it is to use it as a type of a buzzer or some type of an alarm to either congratulate or to catch a criminal, as a concise review of what is good and bad. So it's similar to an alarm, but alarm clock or some type of a bell to enable me not to forget that I have achieved something, or that I have caught something red-handed, as the expression goes. A buzzer or a button to say, I caught you red-handed, or I'm using this buzzer so that I don't forget that it's our anniversary, or we belong to this. It's a reminder. So the color red is like a buzzer, like a security system. And so to condense all the facts of the list of my offences, to say I am separating myself from them, in the sense that they have got the education to be a police officer or a doctor or a nurse or a civil servant, whereas I don't have the education, and yet I can do a better job than them. I could be a better manager. I could be a better one, doing the better work than them. And yet I'm not honoured in the same way as them because of my poverty and claiming state benefits. They've forced me to have my social media the same as if it's a sluice, as if I'm having to have horrible people throw bucketfuls of urine and poo and vomit on me, and forcing my Jesus to be in boiling excrement. So of course I'm going to be offended by that, to say that anybody who hasn't got an education and yet has done a better job as a professional, using that red buzzer to say that God is my police too. So it's a highlight in bold, seeing red. So I wouldn't want to be put in the centre of attention unless it's a special occasion regarding the colour red. So I would normally choose blue or green. I don't like wearing black unless I am sick or unwell, or have something to cope with, such as a woman's menstrual cycle. She has to cope with it every month. Then I'm dressed in black. So dealing with all these common problems of those who have decided to remove my hope. I've never done that to anybody. I've never been jealous or envious of anybody. I've never been in a position where I have captured a man who was with me having sex with somebody else, or cheating on me with another woman. I've never been in that situation. But it was worse for me if it's the case that the man I was married to was if he had sexually abused our daughter. Or worse, that he has done that in his anger, or worse, that he has done that for his pleasure. Or he's done something. It could have been accidental while he was bathing her, or while he was sleeping with her in the same bed. When she was age 4 and 5. No, when she was age younger, 3, 2, and 4. As a result of the way I had been abused by the government. So I'm making a list and I'm going through my notebook. So people have hated me for saying that I suspect that he had sexually abused my daughter, because I told him that I was sexually abused as a child. As a madman, he would want the revenge. He wanted to take revenge out on me because his son had died at age 16 when he jumped into the ocean with clothes on. It was a freezing cold ocean that pulled the young boy at age 16 down into the ocean to die from hypothermia. And he was frozen. And his name was Sam. And I spoke to him, and I said to my husband at the time, you need to spend time with your son. And he refused, said no, because he said he had psychological baggage, that his ex-wife had turned his son against him. And now he's done it to me. He's used my ex-mother-in-law to turn my daughter against me. So it's the evil revenge. It's evil scum. And worst, hypocrisy. So I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not a liar. I'm not a thief. I'm not somebody that hates culture. I'm cultured. I'm not someone that hates education. I am somebody that hates evil. I have not hurt my own body by self-harm. I don't smoke. I don't take drugs. I don't drink alcohol. If I drink, it's occasionally for social settings. I dilute it with water. I have rules for my body and for my soul when it comes to associating myself with work or social, for my own safety. And those that force themselves in and ignore my rules are evil people. They're no people. Basically, looking at the differences between me and them. I have never played music outside very loud. I have never used a walkie-talkie yet, but I think it would be better than a mobile phone. I have never shouted on the top of my voice outside deliberately to annoy somebody. I have never had a type of discussion that was destructive based on all the evils that can be implemented and the laws of God broken. I have never organized crime. I have never been labelled by a unique label of anti-socialism. I have never gone to church to manifestate the devil through evil gossip and evil showing off that I have more money compared to someone who has less money. or any religious place of worship. I took it seriously. I have never wasted my time or wasted my life, because everything that I've done has a good reason and a good priority. If I'm going to clean my house, I have to clean my reputation that they've smeared me with, which is disgusting. For my own identity that they have stolen as identity theft, or they've competed with me, a man competing with me that I cannot shake off. There's a type of a snake, and a landmower cutting grass and finding a snake in the grass. Cannot remove it until it's frightened. I have never killed a snake. I have never been confronted by a wild animal yet. To me, all the attacks that they have attacked me with is worse than a wild animal or a freedom to evil beasts. So some people do have a curse of destruction on them as a wild animal, as a beast, but it doesn't mean that particularly they will target me for abuse as a beast. So it's similar to a bomb going off in your face, having post-traumatic stress disorder, when you have a human animal cursed, that they behave worse than beasts, lions and lionesses, bears, and some wild animal that wants to devour you and destroy you. So this is what I mean by a beast. It's one thing to have a beast roam around for free. It's entirely another thing to have a beast roam around to cause trouble and to target somebody for abuse. I have never kicked the door down of an enemy or a thief. So all my lists of never done, the question is, would I want to do some of these things? Only if God wills, not because I make it myself. Because the list of my no-nos is that I have differentiated myself from them. What makes me a greater person? What makes me a woman? What makes me differentiate myself from antisocial and from men, from those that are not Christian, from those that are not in a relationship with God? I haven't pushed somebody who was weaker than me. I haven't had a fight with somebody to slap or spit somebody's face that deserved it. I had self-control. I haven't had a physical or legal fight with somebody who was destroying my territory or in my therapy. I have never been a bully to children or to an adult or to someone that is frail, such as elderly. I have never accepted a bribe or hoodwinked somebody to be part of a group think. I've had my own mind. But it doesn't mean that in future I wouldn't be part of a group or part of a team, but not to make crime. To lurk on the surface of something, I have never done that. I've always gone into the deep end. I have never screamed in my pyjamas or night dress. So I'm in my night dress now. Is it now time for me to scream? Because I normally would scream with my clothes on. Because somebody has said, effing F you, I want to rob and rape you. which is bullshit. A bully. Why would they say that to me? I'm not wearing red. Maybe they have seen red because of my spiritual list of nevers. So my spirit and persona could be the colour red without even wearing a red on my clothes. I could have possessed and obsessed the colour red through my spiritual. To say I'm better than them, I'm greater than them, because I am different. And I have holy confidence in being different. And I'm happy to be different. My goal is to be different. My hand is to be different. My high, anything to do with height or depth, is to be different. Every movement I take and every breath I make is to be different. Even if I was to have a best friend in my room who had the best interest, I would still want to be different in a respectful way. But when it comes to my enemy in the room, I would want to be different in a disrespectful way. Or I may choose to be the same. Because I have never done it. So does that make me as bad as them? No, it would be because it's my first time being as a bad guy. However, I have resisted being the bad guy because I'm a good guy. I'm a good individual, not a bad individual. Therefore, they're saying red. Because if I was to do something bad, it would have been my first time. I don't like the advert that says there's a little girl. When she's very good, she's very, very good. And when she's bad, she's very, very bad. I don't like that advert. Because it's saying that we're all the same. It's not making that differentiation. What is mine is not the same as what is yours. We all have a unique life, as unique as a fingerprint. So when somebody behaves or acts as a bad individual, is not the same as everybody. It has a different effect on everybody, being a bad guy. I have not used a chainsaw or a weapon on anyone. Neither would I want to. So a colony is clustering against me for saying that I'm the good person and they're the bad person. Any work that I did as a mom or a job that I did, that job I was responsible and I did to my best ability. What else? My nevers. I have never gone and tempted anybody, teased anybody sexually, without a warning. If I did it on my social media, because I'm single, there was a warning there to say all couples or married couples need to separate from me on social media, on the internet, and in real life, in my neighborhood, because I am single. I'm not a couple. But I have also said that God is my husband in Isaiah 54. So that makes me a spiritual couple, but not a physical couple. So this is how I've made oxygen tolerance. Compared to criminals and troublemakers, they don't want you to breathe. They don't want you to exist. Everything that I do is sexualized. So therefore, these abusers and tyrants that sexualize everything, they don't make oxygen tolerance. They do the opposite of that. It's the same as being strangled, because they have sexualized everything as perverts and obscurances of so positive negative attracts demons. They want to be positive negative because they know that they're a negative positive. So that's why they've condemned us, and God's people have to suffer being the negative positive, because they have condemned us and said, as Christians and as poor people, we're not allowed to be a positive negative. Only Satan has to be glorified and called a god and goddess. So all my desires, any training that I do for work, as any newcomer I do, as in my social network, is automatically demonized, while the devil steals my glory and my truth to call itself a god and to make all its desires fulfilled as the devil and devil's lot. So the question is it more interesting and exciting to represent the devil and any type of approach to be a criminal, compared to directly being a God's representative and ambassador? And the answer is no, it's not more exciting for any approach to be more passive-aggressive or directly complicated in the devil. Seems to be more exciting than being complicated in God. The answer, the reason for that is that in the devil there's no consistency. It's the same as a freaky spider or some type of a bug creep. There is how can I say it? Something that's floating, or something that's jumping out of nowhere to suddenly frighten you. So that's again the difference between those that are approaching in the devil versus those who are approaching something in God. There is confusion in the devil, there is no consistency in the devil, and there is this evil type of triangle, of the dark triangle of psychology in the devil. And so, is there such a thing as a holy dirt? Yes, because we all have to repent and reform. So when I say sorry, I try to seek the answers from God's guidance, how I can better improve so that that mistake I have done is not repeated, and that nothing I can do for being perfect and having an ideal world works. It does not work in the devil, it only works in God. To be perfect through doing the opposite of organized crime and only have perfect care and consideration. So that's my no-no, my echo, and a very stretched, long sound. It's a no. It's my self-defense. Because there's consequences to crime. When the corrupt government comes in, or gangster comes in and says there's no consequences to crime and they're above the law, it makes God's people suffer in weakness and being fragile and attacked. So understanding the fact that there are consequences for crime, and we are God's people are different from the non-religious, and how to prevent crime is better than cause crime. I haven't caused crime. Hello? It is those that are antisocial that are saying goodbye and developing some organized crime are the ones who are causing it. That are causing me to be limited unfairly, are organized criminals. Developing some type of strategy how to make me weaker and how to make me lose my mind and how to feel that I'm guilty and I should confess my crime and repent all the time. So once saved, always saved. Once I have confessed a sin, I know that I'm not going to repeat that sin or that same mistake, because God will help and protect me and heal me and cure me, where the cure is stronger than the condemnation. So that's looking at holy dirt. We all have dirt and we all need to repent. So that when I say sorry, I do something about it. I acknowledge it. When a criminal says sorry and feels guilty, they have to kill. They're perplexed by it. All of a sudden, when somebody acknowledges cybercrime, cyberbullying, and a scam or a fraud, and they have been caught red-handed, they threaten you with death threats and to kill. So that's the difference between God's people, who are responsible when it comes to organizing therapy, organizing my own patience, the patience of all the saints, looking at the setting that is cool, calm. In a crisis, you cannot be cool and calm, and anybody that expects me to be cool and calm in a crisis is an idiot. That's the likelihood of me not wanting to scream for help in a crisis. There's no likelihood. Anybody who has an infection and it hurts as hell, I'm not going to moan and whinge and whine. It hurts and I need pain relief. It's an idiot for someone to say if you've got pain, you shouldn't be moaning about it. Until it happens to them as worst hypocrites. A wound and a scar that has caused an infection, obviously you're going to feel pain and make noise. Or you would collapse and faint in some cases and not make any noise. So identifying the two types of organization. Order in court, the judge would say. Why I would be hypersensitive to certain situations, and my list of offences on behaviour, and also if I was going to have a guest, for example, in my home, that is overcritical of my furniture, overcritical of my food, overcritical of my things, that would cause an offence, obviously. And I have never done that to anybody. I haven't visited anybody without an appointment. Never. So I have not taken any action against somebody in court. It's always been the other way around, partial, one-sided. where they have directed a character assassination on me and destroyed everything that I had. So this is the toxicity of abnormal treatment because I have failed or because I have resisted temptation, torture, and torment against me. They would want to attack me because of the fact that I have resisted that. To say I have my own mind, I'm obviously not narrow-minded, I'm open-minded. And I'm here to not compromise, but consider being reasonable. To say, this is the reason A, this is the reason B, this is the reason C. I'm looking to make a solution in the time of an emergency. I'm looking to manage something definitively and have a definite answer. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And if I don't know, I need time to think about something, to make a decision about something. But the bully would stop and block me from having that time to make a decision or to make an option of my choice. So it involves decreasing my options, which is a bully. I've never done that to anybody. The cause of somebody to suffer, particularly the innocent, I have not done that. To prevent or to block growth and development in a child through the transition of becoming a person, I have not destroyed her character by being overly critical or being unfairly strict. I would say that the way I was strict was fair. I didn't beat her up black and blue as a mother to a child. I haven't emotionally abused her frequently. If I did, by accident or very rare, I was very caring and careful not to emotionally abuse my daughter. And it's important to acknowledge that the fact that I have lived in poverty and not having enough of something, that I didn't have enough friends and family or community, is not my fault. So they're saying that itself is emotional abuse on my daughter. To say that she didn't have a granddad, an uncle, a brother and a sister, a father, shouldn't be my fault. And yet the courts have said it is my fault. And this is how I have abused my daughter, which is wrong. There was an inconvenience for me to make new friends and family because I had non-stop pressure of someone that was the same as Margaret Thatcher or a politician visiting me every 2 weeks and forcing me to take mental health treatments. So how am I going to make a celebration and look for new friends and family when I'm being tortured at the same time? Was it my fault I was being tortured? No. So I did have that compliance, and I did my best to do everything right. But they're saying I've done everything wrong because I couldn't stop them from abusing me when I had gone into tribunals on my own. My evidence wasn't enough. Whenever I said no on my own, they would never accept that. My no was never enough. So in the hospital of mental health services, they restrained me, they forced me, and they made me a patient of mental health services, not to improve my life, but to destroy my life. That is not my fault. And yet the children's services, social services have said that is somehow my fault. Even if I had positive records for mental health, it's somehow my fault. And I have to have no human right to be a mother, even though I'd cared for her for 9 years alone. and had not done nothing wrong. So they're saying the fact that I was alone, being alone in itself, to them is child abuse. So I would never do that to anybody. To accuse someone who is a single parent, not any single parent, because every single parent out there that is not having a relationship with God is the same as a witch and a wizard and a devil. They're the ones who are child abusers, not the other way around. I'm shouting again. I said I wasn't going to shout. I apologize. So single parents that are Christians are less likely, true Christians, not false Christians, are less likely to abuse their children compared to those that are not Christians. They're going to do everything devilish. They're going to drink alcohol, take drugs, and have multiple sexual partners, which is something that I've never done. Hello? Is anyone listening? So it wounds me psychologically. This is the pain and the redness of me being raw to say that that I have to be punished as a criminal, even though I'm not a criminal, because of a mental health label, which is organized crime and an evil type of culture that would, of 10 years, of many years, now be totally narrow-minded and make me have this clinical problem. And it's a pain. It's caused me to be isolated, demonized, and automatically tested directly for mental health assessments on my social media, everywhere I go, as a poo fly, as if I'm the poo and I'm surrounded by poo flies. That's how I would describe mental health services currently in the United Kingdom, England. Because I have detected very poor quality in their common NHS hospitals for your physical health or mental health. It's very poor quality, wrongly diagnosed and wrongly treated. I never had more than £10,000 to sue the NHS. What a waste of money. Wouldn't it be better to pack my suitcases and leave England if I'm serious? Or does it make sense to remain in England and attack them by holy war to say everything that they have predicted as false prophets for profit, money, was a wrong prediction? So hopefully that's what I hope to do for my effective therapy. So that's how I'm different from them. I haven't made predictions or speculations about someone, judged somebody unfairly, how far they could succeed, how to test my intention and motive to say I haven't insulted anybody who was stronger than me. And that's how I have attacked, through holy war. I suffered in silence for many years. I didn't answer back. The Bible says I was as a type of a sheep led to the slaughterhouse, or a pig or a cow led to the slaughterhouse, because I was determined not to be easily offended. So I made that sacrifice for my daughter. And I was successful as a single mum. So they were jealous in this beast evil system to say that I don't have a circumcised heart, I don't have a Christian home, I don't read my Bible, I don't pray enough. And all these accusations are of the witch and the wizard and the lying devil that has actually manifested. So the ghost is no longer a ghost, it's become the flesh in many, many evil people that are demon-possessed and obsessed without even realizing. But anybody, on the other hand, who loves the truth more than the lie, have manifested the Holy Spirit in flesh. So that's what I'm describing. Amen. In Jesus' name. And in God's holy name, who is, we say, is the initial YHWH. I haven't practiced extortion, I've never had 2 jobs in my life or 3 jobs to be a workaholic. I have never stolen any benefit or stolen any money from anybody. Other than killing bugs and insects, I haven't killed anybody, I haven't murdered anybody. If I needed to concentrate for studying or for work, I would treat other people as I like to be treated. Entering a library or any work setting, I would not want to disturb that or stop that. By suddenly making too much noise in the library to disturb somebody's concentration at work or at a quiet setting such as a library, I would not do that. Which indicates I am somebody of greatness. I am somebody that is considerate and caring compared to somebody that is the opposite of that, such as kidnappers, children's social services, antisocial people since 2014, all the way to today's date. My daughter's now 18 years old. She's absorbed very bad influence without any discipline, and they told her that she's not doing anything wrong. So they have applied a wrong mindset on my daughter and made a type of a formula through feminism. You have to be a feminist in order to be successful in gaining your new qualification in education. In order for you to be successful, you have to be a feminist in gaining your career, your high-flying career. In order for you to be successful, you have to administer war before peace. You have to be a feminist. If you're a feminine, you would be a peacemaker. You would have peace before war. But if you are to be a Christian, then you're a nobody. So both feminist and feminine evil women would practice false Christianity and false religion by making this formula to uptake a penis in their mouth, or a man-dominated society, that is the devil, or a woman-dominated society, that could also be a devil. Instead, we need God to dominate our society, not humans. 100% God to guide us, to keep us, and to make everything worthwhile with our relationships with our relatives and our friends and family. So this evil pregnancy boomers who are boasting in their pregnancy and the fact that they have more money in the bank to upkeep for child maintenance is also evil. To say that they can have more children than me because they have more money in the bank, something I have never done. I have never boasted of being a mom and saying that I am now going to use my children and abuse my children for a multi-purpose of dominating the society and titling myself and my family as a baby boomer or a millennial, which is turning 45. I'm turning 46. Well, they're 44, the millennials, so I'm not a millennial because I'll be turning 46. So that's how disgusting they are as baby boomers, making their own political agendas for the fact that they could afford child maintenance and I couldn't. So this is the key of culture war and hate crime that I'm exposing. I've never done that. I'm not a hater. I have not gone and pumped my tires of a car or wheels in a car park that belongs to somebody else to bully somebody. a list of my nevers and offence. I have never absorbed food poisoning or cystitis in my life. Only once in my life or twice in my life have I ever had cystitis. I wash myself, I'm hygienic, I have plenty of fresh air, and I have plenty of exercise in my home, doing things little by little to my best ability to minimize my pain and manage pain relief. So those who have prevented me from doing exercise in my home, or just simply taking my rubbish out in small doses, are my bullies. Those who have inhabited my home and inhabited my social network to prevent me from having anything positive are evil. A type of an omen that has predicted evil in my life as a low life is a typical criminal. That they have a difficulty in measuring my needs compared to their needs, which is obviously more important. So they would love themselves more. The Bible says, love one another equally as yourself. Treat one another as you like to be treated. But since they love themselves more, they're an enemy. Or if they love themselves less and they are their own worst enemy, they're also an enemy. Who is one's own worst enemy? Who hates oneself is not my friend. Who does self-harm is not my friend. So I have been polite and nice to all my enemies. I've supported those who have done self-harm to stop doing self-harm at least 5% of my life out of 10%. So I've done the opposite of what they accuse me of. Regarding my body weight, they're also lying in medical records. When they measure your body weight regarding your height is also a lie, as they don't consider your breasts or your bones. So women that are hated for their weight in hospitals, which is totally nasty and an unfair thing to do. I would never do that, to say that we all have different body structures, and therefore that is not considered or understood when it comes to measuring people's bodies and choosing what people should wear by forcing people to have and children to have uniform, which is evil. I would never do that. If I was to have my school or homeschooling, I would not force children to wear uniform. I would want them to be identified as unique individuals. So all the accomplishments that I have done is opposite to my enemy, what they're doing. So they have forced me to be inactive, while at the same time they have activated themselves. They have even stolen anything I have achieved and made it look like I have never achieved it. My enemy has achieved it instead. And this is what I mean by poisonous and toxic. Spot on to accuse the orphan or the outcast of not having any family, to use my sicknesses and weaknesses against me, for example, to undergo an excruciating pain against my slow metabolism because I'm disabled, and accuse me of being slow for my disability is emotional abuse on me. It's abuse on me. It's an abuse of power. Of course I'm going to have a slow metabolism and be slow as I'm severely disabled. So this is not normal. It's demonic. It's devilish. So I cannot achieve my full potential as a result, looking for work that is suitable for me or have the best potential for me as a result of being accused. The greatest likelihood of me succeeding in any work setting as a disabled person, to make a note of, according to my notes, is that they've made it extremely complicated for disabled people to find work at home. For example, it's only given to those that politicians like. It's not given to those that politicians don't like. I'm not a politician. I've never been in politics. So if God has made me to become involved in politics, it's not an accident. So if I had become involved in politics, it's not my doing, it's God's doing. Because God knows, as God is my witness, I hate anything to do with politics or criminals. So if I have suddenly become involved with them, that makes me more important compared to somebody who has chosen it. Compared to me who has not chosen it, God's put me in that situation. So I can say goodbye to them instead. I can see them on their cross instead. It's about my Jesus, not their Jesus, instead. Aha! So now we're getting closer to the truth. So anything that is classic, such as classical music, for example, is not going to be the same as rap music. Can we see the difference? Or do we have to start incriminating everybody as a criminal because they like rap music, or because they like reggae, or they like any other type of music instead of classical music? Should we say goodbye to them too? Because music is music. It does not automatically make it a criminal, does it? Let's say goodbye to coronavirus pandemic and not have to have the hoax of having all types of airborne diseases, fear-mongering, of being attacked by biological weapons, not having enough zinc in your diet, not having enough chlorine, not having enough thing that would remove the chlorine from swimming pools, so I cannot go swimming anymore. Because walking caused me pain. To remove that pain and pressure off of my spine, off of my nerves that have been damaged with severe sciatica, swimming would have been best for me because of the inflammation in my spine. Couldn't do that. So I am not the same as those who have not had their spines broken, that they don't have a severe sciatica, and that they're not disabled. They haven't had a bone broken. This is worse than having a bone broken, because eventually the bone does heal after a year or so. With a slip disc, it takes longer than 4 years. It's about 6 years. So I have to wait for the coronavirus pandemic restrictions and all of these horrible things of being contagious, airborne disease to pass away. And therefore I am suffering more as a result compared to normal people that are not disabled. They don't need to go swimming every day, compared to me that does need to go swimming every day. So I have never been in a situation where I can take advantage of a free swimming pool, whereas prostitutes and pimps and political prostitutes and pimps were showing off that they could use a free swimming pool, free food and free clothes, and they can go and travel freely without any restrictions, because they have got immunity for their crimes and because they have choice for being a gangster, or have got immunity from their crimes from the corrupt government. They are codependent as a type of a slave or a sex slave, successfully, in their circumstances, have eliminated me as a bit of poo and dirt on their shoes. So now it's God's turn, for God's saints, all the saints, to turn this situation around and say that they're the poo in my toilet and the vomit in my toilet and dirt on my shoes. Because I've had enough of the devil doing it to me. And they're evil freebies by a corrupt government and gangsters. Which makes me very suspicious of them. No one can be trusted as a result of the population and the majority being criminals. And actually being congratulated for being criminals, starting from the education system. Oh, now I'm a pushover, am I? No, I'm not. Love, sex bombing stage of a narcissist will not give me a mental health recovery. So I have never gone and love bombed anybody, because love to me is eternal. But it is conditional when the recipient of that love has chosen the government, has chosen the devil, and has chosen a gangster. Then love is conditional. It is not eternal. Which makes me angry, because it has limited and compromised love and made love into a mental health sickness. Because very few people have chosen to do work for God and to be loyal to God. And this is the infection worse than cancer, worse than COVID-19. To say that we have to make love conditional because we hate the corrupt government and we hate the evil gangster. And we hate any type of child abuse that says that the vagina and the penis is there for casual sex, such as my ex-mother-in-law. It's there for making money as a type of a married prostitute. That they get married for money as gold diggers. I have never done that. Neither would I want to do it. But illustrating in this video, they want me to do it. They want me to get married for money as a gold digger. They want me to marry for the wrong reasons so that they could punish me for that. They could make a problem, and then they would be the false hero making a solution to the problem, which is disgusting. I don't like that type of individual or group. So the consequences of these idiots that are making the problem in order to solve the problem, that's how they make their money as criminals. They create a crisis, and then they come in and say, here I am. The abusers, such as we all know, Hitler is the tyrant. He's more than an abuser. But sometimes the abusers are worse than tyrants because they are subtle bullies. Being subtle is more evil and more wicked compared to being a blatant bully. Because at least we all know, everybody knows, Hitler is coming. A tyrant is coming. Everybody knows when it's coming, whereas an abuser that is subtle, no one knows it is coming. No one can spot it. So I have not been a tyrant and I have not been an abuser. When it comes to authority, when it comes to either tightening my screw or loosening my screw, when it comes to humiliating my enemy or me being humiliated, when it comes to the authority of majority versus the minority, as I am an ethnic minority. And I'm also indigenous. As a type of an ancient culture. The individualization is why I'm being targeted for abuse. That I'm a type of a rare individual, which is witchcraft, robbery and rape and murder. And I'm the opposite of that. I'm not a witch, and neither am I a wizard. Neither am I someone that abuses my powers or authority on anybody or anyone or anything. Because I'm not an abuser or a tyrant. But if God allows me to be, then that is a God-given reaction for me to remove sicknesses or be type of an antibacteria or an antivenom. If God allows me to condemn and rebuke all of them that are using wrong, bad authority, to make the resistance and to develop a new type of organization without any delay, to remove me being lightheaded, dizzy, faint, similar to having a severe fever. I don't feel hot, but I feel normal temperature. But I feel that this type of sickness and abuse of authority and power in my life, which is a government crime, makes it very difficult for me in every sense. And this difficulty is equivalent to having a very high fever and a terrible sickness, and which is bad stress induced. Bad stress is a killer. Organized crime is a killer. Illegal activity is a killer. So I have said in my previous video that the curse of destruction used by something that is illegal made legal, and the curse of destruction of crime, of things that are actually illegal. They've done both. Those that are attacking me are doing both. First of all, labeling me wrongly. Second of all, treating me wrongly. And third of all, making me an inhabitant of a dysfunctional family. Force me to live in my past as if I'm divorcing all over again. A dead man who had died in 2012, backdated to 2007 when I divorced, 2006 when I separated. Which is disgusting. So the visionary of being an outsider, an outcast, or type of an orphan, to say I no longer want to be this. Because I have said publicly that God is as a husband, as a doctor, as a mum and a dad to the fatherless. So therefore I don't have to be all this. I don't have to be a problem, and particularly problematic when I'm being forced to be in as an outsider. I'd want to be an insider. To say that my home is my home, I don't do self-harm, I don't damage my property, and I don't want to associate with anybody that is a tyrant, that is known as a tyrant or a war criminal. And I want to make the enemy scream. I want to make those who are destroying my womanhood and me not being able to be fertile and have babies anymore to be destroyed. I want those who have destroyed me to be destroyed, to have a maximum chance of me being cured, and telling them to take their curses back. So that's how I'm having a relationship with God, and I'm clarifying that, making it clear how I'm resisting and how I'm not being a criminal at the same time. So that's the vision. To say all of this abuse in me and attacking my integrity, my peace, my confidence, my solution to the problem is a direct result of the devil, of my ex-husband. But I've already looked at the Holy Book, which is the First Kings, Old Testament Torah, and the Second Kings. How God, particularly in chapter 14, for only God can kill the devil. It's not a human's job to do, but it could possibly be all the saints. So at an advanced relationship with God could also do. So I have limited resources, so therefore I cannot dominate society. I am underfoot because I don't drive a car. And so the answer to that problem is for me to have a car. Actually, I've never driven a car in my life. Ability to freely express myself for many years where I have not is what I'm introducing in this video. I have never freely expressed myself before because I was a single mum and I didn't want to endanger my job role as a single mum. I've never used the internet before as a single mum. We went to the library instead. I've never been hyperactive. I've always been careful of balancing my energy and making sure that I will unite with people that would be loyal to God, not less picky. I would want to unite with people that are not promiscuous or have profanity. But the government has prevented that from happening. They've prevented me from surrounding myself with respectful people. So they've multiplied my problems by surrounding me with and creating a hostile environment in my neighborhood. So they have been proactive in evil rather than in good. And they've swapped families in my neighborhood. They've swapped houses and played Monopoly. A real life Monopoly game where they could actually swap houses to target me for abuse. To design an antisocial behaviour and hostile environment by the criminals that I'm sensitive about. My ears were bleeding for long-term use of earplugs. Even if they were clean and 100% hygienic and brand new, they could still hurt my ears for prolonged use, overuse. They would overreact of anything that I have done or said. They would overreact the moment I step my foot outside my front door. There's a security issue, which is why I don't go outside. This is why I cannot work in any environment that is dangerous. We should do a risk assessment on them, not me. We should do a mental health assessment on my neighbours, not me. So these changes have very subtly occurred during the time of 2014 all the way to today's date, up to date. Subtle abuses actively changing and rearranging things in my neighbourhood to increase their chances of success and decrease my chances of success, and essentially stealing my clinical data from the hospital. A combination of two different types of criminals and abusers getting together and working together by using the internet. So they have joined forces to further embarrass me, to what is unreal, to make it real, to make the worst living nightmare in my life. That's what they have achieved. Protected. They could kill me and say that it's an accident, or they could say, I have a friend, but that friend is an enemy. Coming from the far right extremism. As for the far left extremism, they have made me go under the foot of a prostitute, a whore, and a pimp. They said I was too timid and I was not fighting them enough, according to the far left government. The best workers are being made victims in the far left government. To be bullied, or if I was to find a lover, that true lover is bullied and is afraid to be my lover, to be my boyfriend, because he's going to be bullied by the far left extremists, who are royals, apparently. They're part of the royals. The fact that I have said I don't like Meghan Markle, I don't like her partner, who is Harry, they would want them to come back to England as a result, so that they could bully me. That's the only reason why they would allow Meghan Markle and Harry to come back to England, as they're currently living in Canada, so that they can bully me to death, as they're expert bullies and expert narcissists. So the narrow-minded bigots, something that I am not. I'm not a far left extremist, and neither am I a far right extremist. Any type of peace to support the Jews, I'm not allowed, apparently. If I'm going to preach without a license about Jesus, I'm not allowed. But they're allowed to steal my information on their platforms. If I subscribe to Al Jazeera for the news outlet, that means that I am automatically a social and domestic terrorist, because of my public health records and private wealth and well-being. Anything to do with Muslims, I'm automatically a social and domestic terrorist. If I have subscribed to Putin because I wanted to know what my dad was, or anyone from Saudi Arabia, because I wanted to get to know who my dad is and was, because he looks like an Arab. As an orphan or outcast, I am blamed and punished for that. If I wanted to find out about my mum and how she was a type of a witch who has been turned into some type of ash, into dust, I'm punished and persecuted and blamed for contacting my relatives that I have only met 4 times in 40 years, or 5 times in my entire life. So I have never in my right frame of mind gone to further any horrors or crime. I have never made a horror film. I have never made a real life horror to anyone. Maybe I should. But only God knows. So this is the wrong approach. been on this video now for 1 hour and 30 minutes. So my social interactions, my care plan, my home, my privacy, what gets on my nerves, what annoys me, what are my goals, my status quo, my cry for help when it comes to the economic collapse. And it's ridiculous, the idea that feminists are saying women should be planting, and it's a man's job to do the planting and gardening and allotment, not a woman's job. The woman's job is there to take care of children. So all of these facts are out of order in my life and have been stolen from me. So there's too much war, too many problems inflicted. They've started. I cannot tell the bullies to mind their own business. At the same time, I had been minding my own business. Not interested in them. Not interested in watching them for evil. Even if God tells me you must watch them for evil. Because that's not evil. I'm not a curse maker or a curse designer. So I have been praying to God and said, God, take these curses and this what I am not interested in or I cannot do. Take it back. Take it out of my responsibility. Because my agenda is not to curse anybody and condemn anybody. That's not who I am. So, again, an offense list of my nevers. What I want to do and what I don't want to do. Even by God's will, if God tells me go and curse that individual, I have been very upset by that. Because I have never wanted to condemn anybody. In a corporate plan, in a corporation plan. But if they're not cooperating with me and they're obvious criminals, everything that I touch, I have asked that God condemns criminals. Obscurances of justice and perverts of justice that have caused me to have every type of dysfunction, physically and spiritually. So this research is new of the list of my nevers, the blessed living as the cursed and the cursed living as the blessed, the New World Order, the function of the police and civil servants, the information used against me by disinformation is all an attack and hate crime. It's not normal. It's a miscarriage. I've never had a miscarriage. But they have apparently. I had to make an unclaim of anything that I have done to attack the devil. The devil found out and used it against me and made my abusers more famous. They've lowered down my standards. They've removed my pain relief. They removed my choices. They remotely embarrassed and they remotely embraced me to say, oh, well, I'll come and give you a hug. Of those that I didn't want to hug. So it's an administration of war versus an administration of peace. I have never had an administration of war before. Maybe I should. Maybe it's about time that I do. In a responsible and accountable way. If I'm going to wear jewelry, a bracelet, or clothing, it's a weapon. If I'm going to have sex, it's a weapon. If I'm going to use the internet, it's a weapon. It's a new holy war. So, war has never been my priority. But because the society is backwards, it's not ABC, it's CBA, I have to go into their pattern and made myself widely available to be a destroyer and a betrayer in order to survive. Not to be a peacemaker, but to be a warmonger the same as everybody else. So leading to this analysis of the list of why I'm being discriminated against for being so different, and the list of my nevers, which is an offence. I've never been a pirate to go and dig for gold and precious stones and say, ah. I've never killed a whale. Maybe I should. I've never treated anybody unfairly. I've never said that I matter more than anybody else, or I'm more important than anybody else. Maybe I should start doing that. Because all my nevers have made extreme dysfunction in my life in every sense. Those that are doing the opposite of me. And are always right as an evil narcissist. That has eliminated me as poo and treated me as dirt in their shoe. So to follow up this evil culture, this toxic culture, which is very dangerous for me and complicated, an activity that goes directly against me on my social media, around my home, is a serious infection as a type of a disease worse than cancer and COVID-19. So it's money versus the moral. So I'm not in the money God, I must be in the moral God to make holy war and holy type of aggression when it comes to fighting those that say that they're more morally right than me, fighting those who are evil whistleblowers that have invaded my privacy. What are they doing in my private space? I'm single, I'm alone, I don't have a sex partner, I've only been with my daughter's dad. So how can they be more morally right than me? How can they say I'm not allowed to have a boyfriend because all the dating agency now have false profiles of governors and gangsters, false profiles for me to pick one of them? On a dating agency, I'm not to discuss in this film. It's not appropriate for governments and gangsters to use false profiles on dating agencies to catch me with as a net, to corner me with as a rat and a cat. So this has rarely ever been done, but this is what they're producing. They're saying, as evil, morally right dogs that are stuck in the cat, are saying that I'm not allowed to use a dating agency because it's too dangerous. So the important facts to realise, their activities, they're anti-legal migrants, so I'm a legal migrant since age 7. And don't forget, never to forget, who is inhabiting me in my nucleus, in molecular, invisible level as a human god and goddess, through systems of abuse and through the internet. So now they're the core, they're the center of attention. This is what we're learning, how they're victimizing me and saying that I'm a victim. And in fact, it should be the other way around. That we're against bacteria, that we're against the weeds. But Jesus says, do not pull the weeds at the same time because you'll damage the crops until the time of harvest comes. So a fake hero, a fake friend, and all types of falsehood is a signal. If I am flirting with somebody, does that make me a weed? No, because I'm single. How am I going to find someone unless I start flirting with someone to see just appropriately, and not necessarily to sexualize everything, but to flirt means I'm interested in the opposite sex, not in the same sex. Apparently they've mixed that information up to make me look like a suspect, as if I'm going to be a husband thief. And that's how they've introduced me on social media, which is evil. I've never done that to anybody, particularly women who are single in need of an opposite sex, because God has made the opposite sex to help one another according to the Garden of Eden, about how the human race started and began. So they've confused this, they've mixed this up. Professionally and personally, I am not a husband thief. I've never had an affair in my life. So why are they accusing me like that? There must be an alternative therapy for me to recover from this sex abuse that is affordable, but there isn't. It's too expensive. There isn't a noble exception to say I can be a flirt, to congratulate someone, to make a convenience, to see if that person is considerate or not, ignorant of consideration, if that person is compatible or not, being incompatible. Do we have something in common or not? How will you know unless you flirt? And it doesn't necessarily mean that romance should always be sexualized. That's how I'm different, to balance this extremism of sexualizing everything through our advertisements, through our dating agencies. And I take this very evidently, I have plenty of evidence, very seriously. And the reasons why I have these chains of oppression on me, cross-linking and misinformation, expensive cost of things that I cannot afford to surround myself with certain people. And they would attack me for subscribing to Answers in Genesis, for example. They've attacked me for subscribing to their channel. Or any opportunities that I have for friendship, for romance, for finding medical attention that is not too expensive, for finding a community that is not hostile. All of this to cause me less frequent attacks has been blocked. So all my support has been blocked, and they had attempted to demonize and destroy anybody that came to support me. So it must be coming from a royal. It's more than politics that's doing this. It's coming from up top. They haven't given me any exception or any other noble exception, because they've got my documents in proceeding, because they've got my information and limited everything, like a stopwatch, like a slave, my personal life and public life. So it's holy poop. Every time I go to the toilet, I say, oh, holy poop. It's an evil hate crime. It's the same as a vicious animal, or worse than a Nazi. So when we cannot breathe, as that man was attacked by a police officer, who was obviously a prisoner. What was his name? George Floyd. He was obviously a criminal and a prisoner, so that his rank is lower and the police rank is higher. That's why he was attacked, and that's why he died the way he died. Because he was a lower rank compared to a police officer that is a higher rank. So does that mean now that I have to train to be a police officer to be a higher rank, so that I can breathe? Looking at the actual respiratory diseases and infections of our lungs through meningitis, gonorrhea, skin infections, skin cancer, and other types of diseases that can cause such as psychiatric drugs and biological weapons that can cause lung infections. Medically. But what about mentally? So I'm looking at the physical and I'm looking at the mental impact of abuse, where you feel you can't breathe. You can't wake up and have some peace. It's continual non-stop attack on my skin, on the pores of my skin. In every sense, I'm being attacked. One law for the rich, another law for the poor. And I think the Pope, is it Pope Francis, and other Catholic religious people have actually acknowledged this much more compared to other ordinary Christians who don't. Other Christians from other denominations, there's so many different types, are less aware of these factors compared to the Catholics that are more aware of these factors of one law for the rich, another law for the poor, and making a comparison. And the overuse of lies and disinformation in the community and on the internet to say I'm not allowed to make a better choice. I'm not allowed to associate myself with better people. I'm not allowed to make any resistance to the authority. I'm not allowed to make a positive reputation or to be a responsible person. This is how they're attacking me. Too much so. Overuse of abuse of power because of my poor status, claiming state benefits, and unemployment. So it's one law for the rich, another law for the poor. A unique disaster designed to treat God's people and anybody who is in poverty, to treat us unfairly with abuse, ill-treat us. So now I'm up to date, nearly 2 hours in my video, how I have been forced to be in a terrible lifestyle and a low life, ghetto type of living in the community. Stealing my data, stealing my information, my documents, my personal videos, that I cannot forget. I cannot forget being a mum, my children, how they have made me vulnerable and they forced me to be a victim. They said, surprise, I'm a survivor. They didn't like the surprise. Surprise, I'm someone who loves God and God loves me. They didn't like that surprise. So it's more than only survival. It is me being the first generation, second generation, and maybe I'm not a grandmother yet. My daughter hasn't had children or sex yet. She's only 18. Third generation. How to actively come against these bad leaders and managers. That's where my hand is. To say I'm against them that abuse position of powers, to say one law for the rich and another law for the poor. That's how they do the middle finger by robbery and rape. And that is how they have divided us between the gap between the poor and rich is getting a bit more wider. To dictate to us how we should put to practice anything as slaves to society, which is what I suspect as criminal behaviour caused by Boris Johnson, number one, and any other leader, global leader, that's causing this. One law for the rich, another law for the poor, while they are above the law, God's laws and man-made laws, to make bad luck and make bad crisis, mental health abuse, physical abuse in the United States of America and in England, USSR, Russia, all over Europe, all over Africa. They've done this unreasonable, unsafe, tyrannical type. Even Joe Biden has done it as a leader. He's not a manager. This dog's drama of bitches and bastards in society are being weaponized. Stupidity is being weaponized against the poor and God's people who are in a poor status, unemployment. So it's an administration of war on all people who are unemployed, on all Christians, and on people who are claiming state benefits, which is a venom. So the anti-venom is for me to be employed, to find a job suitable for the disabled. The anti-venom is to do the opposite of what they're doing that makes toxic community in the majority of people. Against anyone who is claiming state benefits, single mums, Christian mums, not any single mum. So they're a busy bee driving me mad in implementing laws to attack me so that I cannot make any resistance. That's the careful attention I'm making in this video. I have to make resistance to reject that which is schizophrenic, to reject that which is a bitch and bastard in society, to reject that which is a pink poodle or anything else that is pink that says that we must fear the humans more than God. That's the barbed wire Barbie, blonde bimbo. That's how I close my video. I'm Maya Maria Marina. 2 hours video. And I'm glad I did, because I can refer to it. I can make notes from this video. I can make friends with this video. I'm glad I did. It's middle of August 2023, and my new name is Mima.